I'm doing the Akhand Diya series right now, and I've shot 3 videos so far, which talk about very practical aspects. One is just the basic equipment and stuff that you need, preparation that you need to keep an Akhand Diya at home. The second is about the wick, like how do you maintain your wick, and a lot of stuff around that. And the third one is about the fuel, which oil to use, and few things about that. So what happens a lot of times is, especially when see these things which we consider as spiritual, there are always certain aspects to them which are not very easy to articulate. So as a first step, I'm always talking very practical, very easy to explain kind of things. The thing, but I was very particular that if and when I do an Akhand Diya series, I have to touch upon certain other aspects, and I was absolutely not sure how to touch upon it. They are not very practical, they are very subjective in experience, almost mystical. I think this will fall under mystical, and obviously if there is a channel on spirituality, at some point it is going to touch upon mystical, and I will have to go there. So what I did was I actually watched a Robert Svoboda video on Homa, because he propounds a lot about doing Homas at home, and I want to try it at one point. I have not done it, but that video really helped me understand how to speak about this, because he approaches it very interestingly. The way he refers to the fire, he refers to it as like a guest that has been invited. When you create those conditions, you are kind of inviting the guest of fire to that, like in this lamp or in that Homa Kund. And that was a very good way of putting it, and because I have to in some way bring that aspect into it, because having an Akhand Diya is not simply the preparations, it's just not like that, and that's not how it came in my life either. See, fire has always been treated very sacred in traditional Indian culture. Even if we take the Rig Veda, then it is fire is very central to it. I don't know the scriptures much, nor do I claim understanding of the Rig Veda. But the importance that is given to fire, there are a lot of reasons, and that's the amazing part. There's not one or two reasons. Like one of the simplest reasons is the sun itself is a fire of a kind, and that is what sustains us. It heats the world, and without the heat, there would be no life. But apart from the connection of fire and the sun, the thing is, even with the sun over there giving its heat and warmth, when we found fire, when we were able to create fire of our own, it was one of the most significant milestones for human evolution that gave us an edge over all the other creatures. It gave us so much capability, because the role fire plays in the social human life is not at all small. So obviously that is one aspect of fire, just how much it is needed for our basic existence. Beyond that, if we look at it from the 5 elements, the Pancha Mahabhootas as they are called, fire is a very important one, because it is kind of the connection between the very materialistic ones, which is earth and water, and then there is fire, and after fire there is air and space. So it's kind of like fire is that transitionary period between the material like earth, water, to air and space. Like if water is given heat, water is put on fire, water will turn into air, that is water vapor. So that it's that main juncture of transition of the Mahabhootas from the gross materialistic ones to the more light, subtler ones. A recent video by Sadhguru talks about the importance of having fire in the house, because he has always been propounding lighting a lamp in the house. He talks about fire being a very key force to ward off stuff, protect you from certain aspects, to cleanse the house.
If a certain form is exuding certain energy and you do not know or you do not have the capability to simply connect with it and you want to connect with it, fire is a good medium to bring both of you together. As we've been saying, fire has been used in so many ways to bond with each other. Without fire, there is no wedding in India because it is being used as a bond to bring people together. Whether physical kind, emotional kind or spiritual kind, without fire there is no union. Taking this further, if a certain form, either in the form of a picture or a deity, if it is exuding certain energy, to make yourself available to it, fire is a good means. So, you will see, you enter the Devi temple, if a few people go stand there, fire, so that they will connect. It's not that she will not connect without fire, she will. But to make you conducive to it, to make you available to it, to make it the way where if… see, if you're looking at in an elemental way, you cannot connect with whatever the earth and water that is there in somebody or something. But if fire is built between people, something gets connected. So, this entire process is to connect you with that dimension. So, the fire which goes around the deity has acquired the aura of the fire, not the fire itself, the akash around the fire has acquired a quality of the divine. So, when it comes to you, you don't put your hand into the fire around that, you take the akash and put it to your eyes, or put it on top of your head, or put it to your heart. You want to take the akash and you want to benefit from that. You're trying to take some element of the divine for your own benefit, to take it and make it a part of yourself. So the whole Aarti process is an effort in this direction. These are all different things that can assist a person to slowly develop your own fire. But above all, in the yogic system, there are various processes where no fire is lit, all the fires lit are within. So this is what you hear from ancient times, the yogis were doing tapas. The word tapa means heat or fire. So you are generating your own fire. So external help is needed when internal possibilities are not so big. But internal possibilities, if they're created, no external help is needed. That's a simple aspect of it.
There's a lot going on with it. It is what we call truly multidimensional or multifaceted. It's like having, for us, like a kaleidoscope in a way. You just look in and it's the same beam of light, but so much going on. It's the same way with fire. It is doing something to the environment on a lot of levels. That's what I feel. But there is another aspect of why in the first place I decided to have the Akhand Diya. What had happened was that before the COVID lockdown, I shifted from my Bombay house where I was staying with my parents. I went to Coimbatore, I took a rental place. And that Coimbatore house started feeling completely like an extension of the Isha Yoga Center, because I wanted to shift to the ashram. But the ashram doesn't have accommodation. They have all these rules about being a full-time volunteer only, then you will get a place, and then also you may not get a cottage, you will have to stay in the dorm. All this stuff which I don't want to get into. So I took this place in Coimbatore, but that was with the intention of kind of, being near the ashram. And so it just so happened, and I have It is happening to a lot of us who have shifted from different places to be near the Isha Yoga Center. When we take a flat outside of our own, it's our own flat, but it feels like part of the ashram. We don't feel we are disconnected to the ashram. Um, so anyway, that was there, but what started happening is uh, I used to light the lamp in the house, and all of a sudden I could feel the presence of the lamp. And I may not be looking at the lamp, I'm doing my own stuff. There's a small lamp that's been lit, and within 2 or 3 hours it will go off because it's a small lamp. I'm not very regular with these things, I have a very lot of difficulty with discipline. So I used to light it once a week or something because I just don't have the discipline to go and light a lamp every day. So what started happening was every time the lamp was on, I could feel its presence. It was like something is there. It's like a life source is there. And I would be doing something somewhere else in the house, and all of a sudden I feel it's gone. And then I'll go and see, and the lamp is off. So that connection with lamp it got built. And obviously, because Sadhguru has always been saying you should always have a Akhand lamp. He says that at some point of time in India, every household will have an Akhand lamp in their house. So I was obviously very inspired, but I did not have the discipline to do this, so I would not even attempt it. But then this connection with the lamp started getting built up. That was the key aspect, because I started feeling this thing where I could feel the presence of the lamp. And obviously when, all of a sudden you feel, oh, there's something lovely live thing going on here, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore, you feel, oh, where did it go? Something like that. So I started missing the lamp basically. And that's where it all happened, because then the COVID lockdown happened. I was alone in that flat, and I was new to Coimbatore, so I was really feeling isolated, which is very unusual for me. And all of a sudden that presence of the lamp, I wanted it, and that's how the whole Akhand Diya idea happened, because International Day of Yoga came up in June, and every year for that day I do something new, and I decided, okay, this situation is like this whole connection with the lamp is happening, let me try this out. So I went out to the supermarket. I expected there would be a lot of Akhand Diyas available, which I will pick and choose, and there were not many options. There was only this one available, and I bought it. Anyway, so I got the Akhand Diya, and that's how it started. So I just want you to understand, I kind of love the way Robert Svoboda has put it. It is like a visitor, that we are creating the conditions so the visitor can arrive and be there. How we relate to it depends. It's obviously not, it's not a human, it is not an animal, it is not a plant, it is a fire, flame. It is a flame. Yeah, so in the COVID lockdown, it made a lot of sense for me to have the flame, which was already a presence, a live presence for me. And then it worked so well, it just kept going on and on for 2-3 weeks without effort. It was maintained, it kept on, and I was like, this is so simple. Obviously, a lot of grace would have been there, because there are a lot of days afterwards, because I've had it for 2.5 years, and there are many times where it's very hard to maintain the flame. So there are some X factors going on, because maybe it's like an art, right? How the wick is, how the oil and all shapes up in the environment. Somewhere there is some art element, somewhere there is some grace element, somewhere there is some X factor involved. So, those days were really special in a way, because I started the Akhand Diya. At the same time, I started the first book of the Agora series. And I refer to Robert Svoboda a lot, because that Agora series kind of really was, it was really nice. And I started, after that I did a Ayurveda program with him. So that was basically a start of a more longer, deeper kind of a engagement with Robert Svoboda. And the first Agora book also starts about fire. It talks about Homa worship and a lot of fire related stuff. So already I have an Akhand Diya going on. I have this book, a very amazing book talking about fire worship. And on the third side was my course my learning of Ayurveda started. All these three things happened at the same time, and that Agora book talked about fire. It also talked about Ayurveda, because Robert Svoboda at that time, when he met Viblananda, he was studying Ayurveda. So it was that amazing tri-juncture going on, and this was a time when COVID lockdown had taken place. That was already a crazy event for all of us. Um, for a rare time in my life, I was feeling isolated, which I never feel. I love my solitude most of the times, but even that COVID lockdown was even too much for me. So, and all these three things happened at that time, and it was something really amazing for me. The fundamental inspiration and source of the Akhand Diya comes from Sadhguru only, because his words in my mind of um, a household should have a lamp. If it doesn't have an Akhand lamp, every single day a lamp should be lit. At least when we go to sleep, we should light a lamp and keep the lamp should go on when we are sleeping. All those words have been in my mind, and all of these factors came in this way it happened. Um, it was just something really special actually. So, the way I tend to this fire is like I think of it as like I am the mother just tending to a child. Same way how we would tend to plants. It is not very logical. Like you know all the aspects. You know it needs a wick, and we worked with a few different wicks, so we know kind of these kind of wicks work well. You know the kind of oils. You have the setup as needed, but there are some X factors you have to just feel your way through. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of days where it's very difficult. The flame, I don't know why, keeps going off, or it becomes very small, and I have to keep maintaining it a lot more than usual. But you feel like a mother, and you give that extra effort needed because you want it in your life. And um, yeah, that's how it is. I just wanted to be sure that this series of Akhand Diya captures this aspect also, that it is, after all, there are a lot of there's something beyond a common understanding that happens when the lamp is lit. So yeah, and that is why when I keep it in my shrine, like there is a flower offered to the lamp, the Akhand Diya especially is not offered to another deity. Akhand Diya by itself is a shrine. That is why also in the other temples that you see, Somnath, for example, obviously the main shrine for Shiva is there, but near that the smaller shrines are there. So the Akhand Diya has its own small shrine, because the Akhand Diya is by itself a presence. So, I mean, we may do it, we may have the Diya as another offering if we have another Ishta Devta. It's all very different. There are very different dynamics for different people that would work, but Akhand Diya by itself